Departments. I'm Tom Kramer in Manistee County. That story tonight.
The defense team for Clarence Gomery was in court today arguing entrapment and conspiracy for the former prosecutor.
Many lakes across northern Michigan have ice, but looks can be deceiving. I'm Charlie Lapastore in Roscommon County. I'll show you a couple winter safety reminders before you head out on that frozen water.
On air, online, and on the go. This is Up North Live News at 6:30 on ABC 29 and 8. Get connected.
Good evening, I'm Megan Morelli. Thanks for tuning in to Up North Live News at 6:30. For a few years, federal grant dollars were available to pay for police officers to be stationed at public schools. These school liaison officers were recognized as a great addition to the schools. The money eventually ran out, though, and many of the liaison programs were cut. ABC 29 and 8's Tom Kramer joins us from our Vogue Theater studio in Manistee. Tom, how have school districts managed to keep a police presence in their schools?
Yeah, well, Megan, because many school districts are facing declining budgets, they've had to get a little creative. Having a police officer on site in the schools became a not-so-foreign idea in the late 1990s and early 2000, but by 2010, many of those school liaison programs were gone, largely due to declining budgets of police departments and school districts. In Reed City, the program was cut at the end of last year, but thanks to the generosity of a community member, it was restarted this fall.
Just to have that person building relationships and having kids get to know a police officer when they're not in trouble, it just makes things go smoother. If there is a little bit of trouble down the road where the kids are familiar with who they're dealing with, and it's not such a, I think, a nerve-wracking thing. Plus, there's an element of, I think everybody feels a little safer when we have a liaison officer around.
In Manistee, the high school is working with the Michigan State Police to have a trooper come by a couple of times a week. A few years ago, they had a trooper at the school every day, but he was reassigned. After a fierce letter-writing campaign, the state police agreed that even a limited presence was worthwhile.
You know, that focus on prevention and that focus on keeping schools safe and communities safe.
Benzie County also had a full-time liaison officer until 2008.
The number one way to discourage any kind of extreme negative behaviors at school is the presence of a law enforcement officer.
Now they have an office set up for a Benzie County deputy, and deputies will come by as they can. And again, even that limited time can make a difference.
So many times all law enforcement has seen that is taking care of trouble. Whenever trouble comes up, there they are. So they get associated with that. And law enforcement is so much more than that. And our kids need to be able to see that. They need to be able to see our officers in a positive light.
Now, Megan, other school districts in our area have various agreements with local law enforcement. In Ludington, for example, the city police makes an officer available for those schools. And speaking with the Benzie County Sheriff, it's no surprise that he would like to see an even greater presence of his officers in the schools in Benzie County. Reporting live from our Vogue Theater studio in Manistee, Tom Kramer, ABC 29 and 8.
Thanks, Tom. In Reed City, the program is set to continue for this school year. The superintendent hopes that higher than expected enrollment numbers will mean they have money to continue the program next year. Well, Clarence Gomery's attorney was in court today laying out the defense for the former prosecutor. Frank Stanley wants to argue both entrapment and a conspiracy for his client. Clarence Gomery is accused of trying to hire Dale Fisher to kill attorney Chris Cook. Gomery's attorney argued that Cook and Fisher may have been working together in hopes to get Gomery in trouble. The defense claims Fisher was the one who approached Gomery back in July, offering his services to kill Cook, and he was wearing a wire at the time and working with law enforcement. They say Chris Cook wanted Gomery in jail for his benefit. The two were opponents in a civil lawsuit involving a business deal gone bad. The judge will review evidence for the entrapment defense, but denied the motion for the conspiracy theory.
Let's assume everything that you say is true. Mr. Cook's a bad man. He's manipulated Mr. Fisher, a bad man, into making this approach to Mr. Gomery. It ends, doesn't it, when Mr. Gomery says, "Get away from me, you're crazy. I can get this discharge in bankruptcy. I got a great appeal. Go away."
Frank Stanley says that he is going to work to try and find evidence to support the conspiracy theory because he's confident it's a possible defense. The jury was seated and heard part of the opening arguments this afternoon in the Jason Ryan murder trial. According to prosecutors, DNA evidence links Jason Ryan to the murder of 68-year-old Geraldine Montgomery back in 1996. Jamie Peterson was convicted of the crime in 1997. He served time but was released this year when that DNA evidence was reviewed. Now, prosecutors say the evidence points to Ryan being involved in the death.
Either during the late evening hours of October 5th or early morning hours of October 6th. In her own home, Mrs. Montgomery was first beat, forced to have sex with her attacker. She was then taken out to the garage. She was locked in the trunk of her car, the car was started, and the garage door was closed. She was trapped in the trunk of that car and forced to inhale those exhaust fumes until death. The attacker wiped his fingerprints away and left the scene.
Tomorrow, the defense will present its opening statement. The trial is expected to last 2 weeks. A woman arrested in Sheboygan County accused of stabbing a man in the head told investigators she was possessed by a demon at the time and the demon made her do it. Early Sunday morning, deputies say 19-year-old Tori Harris stabbed the 21-year-old victim at a home in Mackinac Township. The man was treated on the scene. Harris remains behind bars tonight, charged with 1 count of assault with intent to do bodily harm less than murder. Well, this is the Leelanau County woman accused of stabbing her husband Sunday night. Today, 49-year-old Nancy Heffernan's husband bailed her out of jail. She was charged with attempted assault with a dangerous weapon. Now out of the jail, she has bond conditions including no contact with her husband, daily breath tests, periodic drug tests, and she is not allowed to return home. Her husband told deputies they were arguing when his wife stabbed him with a steak knife. He was treated and released from Munson Medical Center. The man who was shot by police during a hostage situation last week was formally charged while recovering in the hospital. He faces 1 count of homicide, attempted murder, and 1 count of interfering with electronic communication. Police say 29-year-old Scott Brown was holding a woman hostage with a knife. It happened at a home in Sault Ste. Marie on Minneapolis Street. Police say when Brown wouldn't put the knife down, an officer fired 1 shot, freeing the hostage. The woman was treated for several knife wounds and later released. Brown will have a preliminary hearing December 22nd. People are already out on the ice fishing, but there are some spots on northern Michigan lakes that aren't safe to be on right now. ABC 29 and 8's Charlie LaPastora gives some winter safety reminders that you need to know before heading out on the ice.
As long as we have ice, we got people here fishing.
And there is ice on lakes like Houghton Lake, where people have already started to fish.
First ice, there's no ice at home. We had to come up north and get some.
I've been ice fishing since I was real little, and we fished every year since I was like 5 or 6 years old. And the people just enjoy it. They enjoy getting out on the lake, they enjoy the fresh air, and it's a whole lot better than having your kids do that than me running around just doing nothing or playing games on the, video games and stuff. It keeps them more occupied. Once they start catching fish, they're hooked.
The sheriff recommends anyone who plans on going out on the ice to fish to use extra caution and bring safety tools such as these picks that you can plunge into the ice that just might help save your life.
I can say the ice is never safe, 100%. If you're going to go out and ice fish, I would recommend before you venture out into water that's too deep that you check and see what the thickness of the ice is. Check with the local residents, check with the bait shops.
And that thickness right now, according to Hath, is around 6 inches. He also says up to 100 people call him a day asking if the ice is safe. He tells them that it should be now, but to always be safe and to not use any hard shanties or vehicles just yet, only portable shanties. But for some fishermen, all that matters is finding that perfect catch.
Out here catching gators. Nobody else is out here. Got the 4-wheeler on the ice. I don't know if it's a great idea, but we're catching walleye. That's all that matters, right?
In Roscommon County, Charlie LaPastora for Up North Live News on ABC 29 and 8.
Thanks, Charlie. Stern also recommends if you do plan on going ice fishing, make sure to tell someone when and where you are going. The Roscommon County Sheriff's Office is trained to handle any emergency on the ice. The Department of Natural Resources says the deer harvest for the firearm deer season dropped dramatically this year. Numbers were down nearly 40% in the Upper Peninsula and 10% in the Lower Peninsula. The DNR blames poor weather conditions and low deer populations in some areas. The department conducts its own survey right after the season ends, but it also relies on feedback from hunters. If you want to provide your harvest information, we've provided a link to the DNR website on our website, upnorthlive.com. Manistee Catholic Central Schools made the unusual decision to close their doors today and tomorrow. About 25% of the students there were sick over the last couple of days. That prompted the school's principal, who also happens to be a registered nurse, to close the school. She wants to give all the students the chance to get better at home and a chance for staff to thoroughly clean the school.
Anything we can do to keep this centralized just into our school and not spread out into the community. We just want to make sure that we're doing our part, not to send it out elsewhere. That's why we cancel all of our sporting events and things too.
The school plans to reopen on Thursday, but a final decision will be made tomorrow. Families with sick children are advised to keep them home until they are without a fever for 24 hours without the help of any medicines. One of Northern Michigan's most popular holiday attractions is rolling into Traverse City this weekend. The 12th annual Festival of Trains kicks off Saturday at the History Center in Traverse City on 6th Street. The Northern Michigan Railroad Club hosts the event, which brings a hands-on experience back and even bigger and better than ever before. The Festival of Trains runs through January 30th, Admission is $5, but kids under 4 get in free. And for all the latest stories, sports, and weather, you can log on to our website, upnorthlive.com, 24 hours a day. Coming up on Up North Live News at 6:30, a small dog in Idaho is feeling pretty lucky tonight after a team of rescuers was able to free her from a rough situation. We'll tell you about the close call she had coming up.
Overnight tonight, big range in temperatures. It's going to be between 8 and 28. That is a big range for us. I'll tell you why that's going to happen in a few minutes. Lots of sunshine tomorrow. Not going to warm up a whole lot. I'll show you those numbers as well. Here's your fish and game report for tomorrow.
Thanks, Mark. Some firefighters in Idaho were called to help free a four-legged furry friend from a very close encounter. We'll tell you why this small Jack Russell Terrier now has a new leash on life after being rescued. Coming up next on Up North Live News at 6:30. A Jack Russell Terrier in Idaho is recuperating after getting its head stuck in a metal pipe. It took a team of people to save the animal, including some local first responders. Jacqueline Powell has the story.
Oh my gosh. Look at her face. Melissa Tabor was thrilled to pick up her canine companion without a pipe around her head. Just a day before, Tabor had taken her in, stuck in this.
We had just had the pipe hooked to her head and
Tabor says baby dog wandered off during a walk on Saturday, then didn't return home. The next day, she was found stuck in the pipe, and there was no getting her out.
we greased her head up and tried to pull her out, and there's nothing. We couldn't, she didn't budge.
When she got to the vet,
she was quite dehydrated and very, very scared.
The doctors were stumped on how to get her out, too.
Very uncommon. We see all kinds of funny things, but this one is new.
They decided to call in a team of firefighters for help, but even they say it was quite the tricky job.
This is probably the smallest extrication we've ever done.
The team captured this video of them drilling through the metal with some very special tools. And once she was out, doctors treated swelling in her head and some minor scrapes. They say she probably got stuck in the pipe trying to chase down a mouse, something Jack Russells are known to go to great lengths for. Vets say the fact that she wasn't hurt any worse is also characteristic of her breed.
She's lucky, yes, as Jack Russells tend to be.
All luck aside, Tabor just hopes she's learned her lesson.
I don't think she'll stick her head in a pipe again, to chase anything.
That was Jacqueline Powell reporting. Still to come in your 2-minute sports drill tonight, a former soccer standout at Suttons Bay picks up a national championship in college, plus an update on Mr. Basketball and another big honor for Leland's Alicia Glass. Thanks, Harrison. Now let's turn things back over to Mark Watkins for another look at our 5-day forecast.
You gotta love that face right there. Don't you like that? That's great, isn't it? That's Chuck and Mary's best friend. Chuck and Mary from Elk Rapids, and I like that one. That's a good one. Tomorrow morning we get up, clear sky, very cold, lots of teens and even single digits in a few spots. It's going to be, well, the temperatures will range from about 8 to maybe 25. It'll vary because of the cloud layer you get through the nighttime. Where it clears out, it's going to be colder. Lots of sun the next several days and a little bit of a warm up. Daytime highs will be 25 to 35 tomorrow. Lots of 30s Thursday, Friday, and over the weekend we'll see a few 40s for highs. So there's a little warming trend there. Megan?
Thanks, Mark, and thank you for watching Up North Live News at 6:30. We'll see you back here at 11.